everybody. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Fumble Live. We're breaking down everything that happened at the All-Star game last night. It was a lot of fun to watch. We're talking about Steph Curry and how he finally responded to some of the criticism that he's received. And also, Donovan Mitchell threw a little bit of shade at LeBron James, and I cannot wait to hear what Jackie thinks about that. But before we do that, subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. We are so happy that you're here for our new 9 a.m. start time, you guys. 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JRayTheFanatic.
All right, Jackie, so tell me about your weekend. I want to hear everything that you did. What did you think of the All-Star game? We're going to be getting into details of all of that, but let's just have a little weekend catch-up really quickly.
So you guys know I promised you that I was going to recap the Rudy Gobert story for you, and I just want to let you know I didn't watch it. Not because I want to. Wait, don't laugh, because I actually got up because it came on at 11 a.m. here in LA. I got up to watch it. Couldn't find it. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I had it wrong. Maybe it comes on at 11 p.m. Eastern time or something. So I'm looking for it. I could not find it anywhere. So I'm going to try to find it and watch it. But apparently our producer talked about this earlier before we came on. Didn't see a tweet about it. I didn't see an Instagram post about it. I think it was only me that was looking for it. So I was very disappointed in that. But I don't have anything to report on it because I didn't watch it. But I definitely loved the All-Star game. It was great. I loved the little documentary that came on about Shaq after that. You guys know I don't like Shaq, but kind of have a better feeling about him now. So it was a good weekend.
Good. So here's my theory of what happened with the Rudy Gobert story. I feel like the show or the documentary producers or developers, they finished it, they're ready to put it out, and then they were like, you know what? Why are we doing this? Who wants to see this? No one's going to watch.
I wanted to see it. I set my alarm because I usually sleep in on Saturday. I set my alarm to get up, and I was just up for no reason. Couldn't find it. It did me. Maybe it's next Saturday. I don't know. Maybe it's next Saturday. I'm gonna find it though. I promise.
All right, Jackie. Looking forward to hearing that plot synopsis and review from you. I can't wait. If any of you in the chat are as crazy as Jackie and you did actually find the Rudy Gobert story and you wanted to watch it, let us know how it was. Because of course I'm not going to be tuning in. I do not care. Anyway, for me, my weekend was really great. We got to celebrate my mom's birthday, like I mentioned to you guys, on Friday. So we were down in Orange County, and that was a lot of fun. So nice to be able to spend some time with the family. And my sister just had a baby recently, and he's a month old, and he's so cute. So I got to hang out with him. What else? Went to a farmer's market. Overall, just had a really nice weekend, very relaxing, very chill. But yeah, and then the All-Star game last night, of course, was tuning into that. So that was, it was a good weekend. Solid weekend for both of us, it sounds like, Jackie.
Yes. Rudy, I'm still going to find it, though. I don't want you guys to think. Rudy, I'm going to watch it. If it's just me, I'm going to watch it, I promise.
All right, well, can't wait to hear about it, Jackie. Let us know. We're waiting with bated breath to hear about the Rudy Gobert story, right. Dying to know about the man from France who touched a bunch of microphones. Anyway, let's talk about somebody who I'm actually really looking forward to getting into, Steph Curry. So Steph was featured front and center during the All-Star festivities. He started off the night by reclaiming that three-point shooting contest, which was really fun to watch, by putting up 31 points in the first round. And that was basically just a warm-up for everything else that was going to come for the rest of the game. He showed off his half-court shot. He, really watching Steph last night, we know Steph is a great player. He's inspired a lot of younger athletes, and he's changed the game in a lot of ways. And I think watching him last night really kind of reminded me and maybe a lot of others how incredible he really is. You know, he's just such a fun player to watch. I think he's exciting, he's energetic, he does things that are impressive, and because the Warriors are not doing as well this season, I think it's easy to overlook or forget the cool things that Steph has been able to accomplish. And it was also really, really awesome to see him join forces with LeBron. I feel like seeing them together was so good. I loved that. But like I mentioned before, despite all of his skills, despite everything that he's been able to do, he has been on the receiving end of a lot of criticism, especially this season, for not really being able to carry the weight of the Warriors on his shoulders. And, you know, we've actually wondered if he really had the capacity to do that. He is a great player. Is he the type of player to carry a team? It seems like maybe he's not. But I think one thing that we need to remember is that when he is on the floor with the Warriors, he improves. But their offense improves by 15 points per 100 possessions. But despite all of that, he hasn't been able to really generate a lot of consistency for the Warriors. So let's discuss. We've heard that Steph is, you know, not as good a player as everybody thought. Steph's not doing a good job. Steph can't carry a team. Steph doesn't really impact the game at all. And people are questioning his legacy. They question his status as an all-time great. And he is fully aware of all of the negativity that people have to say about him. And what he said in response to it, I thought was really great. So he said, quote, "I have a lot to accomplish. I don't have anything left to prove, and there's a little subtle difference there." And you know what? I think that's really awesome. He's not looking to prove himself or his worth or what he can do to anybody. He doesn't need to. He knows what he's been able to accomplish, and he, I think, proved that last night. But he does still have things that he wants to achieve. So I actually really like that. But Jackie, I want to talk to you first. Do you feel that Steph's performance last night solidified his status as somebody with nothing left to prove and just more things to accomplish?
I mean, I don't take the All-Star game serious. I don't think the All-Star game is where you kind of solidify anything in your career. It's just fun, you know. But I do think everything that Steph has done outside of the All-Star game does. We've talked about this several times. Regardless of how I personally feel about the way Steph plays, it's not the kind of play that I enjoy, but nonetheless, it is the style of play that everybody in the league had to step back, and take notice of, and had to adapt to it. And so he single-handedly changed the game, and I've said that time and time again, and I'll say it forevermore. And I was one of the people that said, you know, I want to see how he does now. I want to see if he can carry the team, because that's one of the things that, you know, I've loved about LeBron, especially when he was with Cleveland. He had to put that entire team on his back and carry them. That's a different kind. He plays an entirely different game, though. LeBron does. It's more bully ball. It's more physical. It's more aggressive. If you try hard enough, or if you get Steph a little bit off of his game, it's a little bit harder for him to maintain that. Whereas LeBron can just, you know, go downhill, steamroll towards the basket. There's not a lot you can do about that. So it's a little different style of play. But I 100% agree with Steph on this. The fact that generations upon generations are going to be talking about this man because he single-handedly changed it from the day of the big to now people are literally talking small ball. When I was playing basketball, nobody talked about small ball. You had to be a certain height, otherwise nobody was checking for you. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where his name is solidified. His name, our kids are going to be talking about Stephen Curry. They're going to know his name. He doesn't have anything else to prove, but now he can just add to this legacy because his legacy is already solidified. So I love him taking this very diplomatic way to say, y'all can kick rocks. I love him for that. But it was a very diplomatic way to say, I know what I've done. I know how important I am to not only my team, but to this entire league. And I'm fine with that. And now I just want to build from there. So I thought it was very spot on with what he said. And I told y'all, though, that 3-point challenge was just going to be a wash. Steph went out there and it didn't even look like he was hardly trying. Jason Tatum tried to make it interesting, but I told y'all I was going to go exactly like it went. And just want to shout myself out real quick. I called the dunk challenge right, too. So shouts out to me. I got it right.
Good job, Jackie. You called all of it. I think you're the new psychic of the Fumble here. Yeah. But I'm with you. Watching Steph do that 3-point contest, it was just like, he's unstoppable with that. It seemed just too easy. Looked like there was no effort involved at all. It was very impressive. So I want to talk about whether or not Steph really even needed to address the criticism. We've been hearing a lot of this negativity for a while now. People are constantly saying, you know, his legacy means nothing. He's, you know, whatever. We've been hearing it for a while. And Steph has always stayed quiet about it. He's never like really tweeted anything. He's never said anything kind of snippy in an interview. This is really, I feel like, the first time that he's actually fully addressed all the talk that people have to say about him. Do you think that he needed to address the criticism? Should he have done it earlier? Or is it better for him to just continue playing his game and prove people wrong with what he's able to accomplish on the court?
I don't think he should have addressed it earlier. No, because that's just not who Steph is as a person. That probably would have seemed a little bit out of character for me if he'd have done that. Technically, I don't think he had to do it now. I think those of us who watch the game, appreciate the game, and aren't looking for those, you know, clickbait headlines sometimes, that we understand who Steph is. So he technically did not have to address it now. But I appreciate that he did, because I think at some point you do get tired of that narrative. You get tired of people saying the same thing over and over again. And what I find interesting is these same people who are saying, oh, Steph isn't as good as we thought, are the same people that were rolling out the red carpet every time he got on the floor and said he was the next coming of whatever, you know, something that we had never seen. Everyone said that. Everyone said he has changed the game. They were 100% right then. But then that's just how things evolve. You're not going to always be, at some point, the bigs are going to have to figure out a way to address that, especially when you don't have another splash brother in Clay on the floor with you. Now it's like, okay, it is small ball. He's not the fastest, you know, he's not the biggest. You can adapt to that. It might take you a little while longer, you know, but you can adapt to that. And so I think the people that are saying things about Steph, I mean, even if you sit back and watch, and I don't watch a lot of Warriors games, because I don't, but even when I step back and watch the few that I watch, he's still out there dominating. He's still out there being himself, having fun, the thing that I love about Steph too is if he has a bad shot, it doesn't impact the rest of his game. He can literally throw an air ball or a brick or something like that. It doesn't impact the rest of his game. And I think that little nugget is also something that young guys can learn from, because we see the opposite sometimes. We see kids throw maybe 2-3 shots that are terrible, and all of a sudden the rest of their game is trash because they're inside their head too much. He is a total player, and you can pick apart his game and learn from every single part of it. So I don't think he had to address it. I personally am glad that he did, but I think anybody who watches the game has to know and respect that Steph Curry is the man, this period.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that the way he addressed it was exactly how it needed to be. I think it would have seemed worse, or it would have been more annoying or more defensive if he was a little bit more sassy about it. But instead, he's just like, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and that's what matters. And I think that, I don't know, it just really speaks to Steph's character. You know, I love Steph, and you love Steph. We all love Steph. It's hard not to like the guy because he's just like a very happy-go-lucky person, and seems like he's almost always in a good mood. And I just really like that about him. So I think he handled this really well. I loved watching him yesterday. I know the All-Star game means nothing, but I think it did remind me of what he's able to do and how truly stellar he can be when he is surrounded by a really strong roster of teammates. So, and not that he isn't or wasn't before, but it just was like kind of a flash of like the old Warriors stuff, you know what I mean? Let's get into the next update here. So this is all about Donovan Mitchell and how he kind of clapped back at LeBron James. And I'm curious if you feel like it was necessary or not. So when picking teams for the NBA All-Star game, LeBron and KD left Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert as the final two players left for selection. And LeBron joked about that decision, saying, you guys got to understand, just like in video games growing up, we never played with Utah. So it's kind of funny. Jazz fans were offended by this, which I guess I kind of understand. But it's funny because right now they are the number one team in the West. So it's not, when LeBron said this, he wasn't saying anything negative about Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell as players. He was just talking about the franchise as a whole. So I didn't feel like there was any need to be personally offended by it. Although I could understand why one of those athletes would have taken it that way. And Donovan did take it personally. So he actually responded to the criticism saying, I don't want to be rude, but I really don't care. People have been talking shit about me for a while. We're not doing this to seek the approval of him, meaning LeBron. Let's talk about this, Jackie. What's your reaction to Donovan's comments? Do you think it was uncalled for him to respond like that, or do you understand why he was a little bit sassy in his response?
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at Spider for this one. I get it. The Jazz get they got the best record in the West right now. They get no love. They get no respect. They get criticized on every turn. We just saw Shaq basically tell him, you ain't nothing. You ain't never going to be nothing. Even though he's out there doing his thing. And no, LeBron did not mean him specifically. And LeBron was basically saying, if you listen to the whole clip, he said, yeah, as great as Karl Malone was and as great as those players were back in the day, when we were playing video games, we just don't play with them. We just don't. It had nothing to do with, those guys being great or not. And he was very specific in that he did not specifically name anyone. But this is Donovan Mitchell being completely fed up of hearing this narrative that's all negative about Utah. And I think part of the negativity that Utah does receive has nothing to do with the players. It's the state, and it's what other players report happening to them when they go there to Utah. We know that a lot of players have reported a level of racism when they go there, and nobody enjoys going to Utah. I've actually been to Utah. It is not some place that I would ever want to live in my life. So I think that the negativity they receive, it has nothing to do with them, because at the same time, people are still out here talking about Donovan Mitchell. They're still talking about Rudy Gobert, even though some of y'all ain't doing it in a positive way. They're still talking about them, and we all respect their talent, because you don't get to have the best record in the West if you're not good. But it's just Utah, and I think he hasn't really understood that yet. He doesn't really understand that we kind of just put everything on Utah, and that trickles down to the players. But no one disrespects Donovan as an individual player. He's just tired of hearing it, and I'm not mad at him for clapping back at it, because I would be over it too. But yeah, it's just one of those things. This is the definition of being in your feelings, but I am okay with it. I understand why he had to do this little clap back, and I'm not mad at it.
So you kind of answered my next question, which was, did Donovan make it personal when it didn't need to be, and when it wasn't personal to begin with? And I think we can both agree that he definitely took it personally when he didn't need to. But do you have anything else that you want to add in response to that question?
Just keep that same energy, Donovan, because we've seen a lot of players like Damian and clearly y'all play better when you're mad. So just keep that same energy. It's gonna help you down the line, and just take it personal. That's fine. Take it personal, use that energy, and get it done. But yeah, I totally get it. And I'm never going to hate on Donovan that way. So yeah, I totally understand this one.
Yeah, I understand it too. And I think that you're right. I think it would be frustrating to be a Utah Jazz player and know that you're always kind of going to be the butt of a joke, or people are always going to remember the worst things about that franchise, like the fans, like you mentioned. And I will say, yes, those Utah fans, we've seen some really, really bad things, but the one thing Utah does offer is beautiful landscapes. They have great national parks over there. So that is one thing that I would like to give Utah props for. But also, the team is doing really, really well right now, so there's no issue here. But poor Donovan, he just seems to be, first he has Shaq telling him that, doing that weird interview, and then LeBron, he feels personally offended by what LeBron said. Like, poor guy. He's doing well. We're rooting for you.
Right.
All right, well, that wraps up Need to Know News, Jackie. So, are you ready for the post up?
Yes, let's get into this Monday morning post up, y'all. I should have put some caffeine in my cup, but I'm totally ready for this one, because the All-Star game, I know I gave it a lot of shade. I said that it was unnecessary, but I'm just going to go out here and be the first one to admit I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I didn't see the skills challenge, but like I said, I saw the 3-point competition and the dunk competition. I saw some of you say it was trash, but it wasn't. Anthony was supposed to win it. That boy got hops for days. So I really enjoyed it. I loved seeing Steph and LeBron on the court together. There was a moment in time, LeBron always does his chalk toss. I have a picture of LeBron doing his chalk toss, and I love it. But Steph was like, I've never had a chance to see this up close. It's really cute. Take a look.
Close it is ever. It's close it is ever.
That is so cute. They got the audio of Steph watching LeBron's chalk toss, and look at this picture. I told y'all I have a picture. Y'all want to see it? It's actually right here. No, I'm just kidding, but I do have a picture of LeBron. I have a little one that sits on my desk right here, and then I have a big one. So the little one I have is him in Miami, and then I have a big one of him in Cleveland doing it. But I think this might be my next one because Steph just looks like, oh my God, this is amazing, and I just love the whole look of this picture. It is absolutely awesome. But that was kind of the energy all game. It was just a lot of fun. I didn't have a moment in time where I didn't think Team LeBron was not going to win. And I am so glad to report that somebody is actually listening to me because what did I say? I said, LeBron better not even be in contention for All-Star MVP because he better be barely playing. That's what happened. So it looks like at least we're on the right track to understand we got to limit LeBron's minutes. And I'm all for that. But later, LeBron did tweet about Steph and several of his usual hashtags that he does, and he gave Steph all the glory, which I absolutely love. So take a look at this tweet from LeBron. If we could post that up really quickly. Do we have it? Maybe we don't. But he said, oh, here it is. Finally got to share the floor. This is a lot of hashtags, y'all, but finally got to share the floor with at Steph Curry 30. Well overdue, and I loved every single second. Hashtag greatest shooter of all time. Hashtag change how the game's played by himself alone. Hashtag respect beyond words. Hashtag some kids born in Akron. I guarantee you, if you click on all them hashtags, it's going to be like one tweet because nobody is tweeting nobody's hashtagging all that. But love that. I love the respect between these two people. This is something that I said last week. I would love this to actually be a thing. I know we've talked about will Steph go to LA, but if I could see before LeBron retires, if I could see a semi-healthy, semi-fully capable LeBron play with Giannis and Steph, I feel like my basketball journey will be complete. It is something I definitely want to see. Fans actually love this tweet from LeBron as well. They thought it was dope for him to kind of shout out Steph like this. And this one says, y'all should have played together more, but maybe next time, best players of their generation, GOAT shooter and the GOAT. I love this guy. Which Steph fans would see how much LeBron respect Curry and stop hating. And that's the one biggest takeaway I had from this whole All-Star game is all this hate that flows around. It really is just the fans. These athletes, well, there might be a few, but they really have no hate for each other. And you can see that in the way they laugh and they talk and they play. It's just dope to see the level of respect, especially when you're playing at such an elite level like these guys are, that they have this complete respect for each other. Steph responded, and of course, people are saying something about this. This is much love, bro. Hashtag Team LeBron with the W while we at it. Hashtag Akron. So, they're both, I think I forget that all the time that Steph is from Akron because I've actually been to Akron and I see a lot of like really big guys and Steph was just so little. So sometimes I just forget that he's from Akron as well. But that, of course, cued the LA talk. And I'm actually okay with this. Do I think this is going to happen? I told y'all I want to see it. And if the stars could align, I'm down for it. But this one is from Ralph Mason. And he says, reminder that Steph has yet to sign his extension and is scheduled to be a free agent in the summer of 2022. I didn't realize his contract was coming up that quickly. So I went and I checked. And that is actually factual. Steph Curry has yet to re-sign. So here's my question for you, Devin. I know that we say all the time that this is just talk, this is just conjecture. Is it possible that we will see Steph Curry in a Lakers jersey with LeBron James and AD? That would be crazy.
Oh my God, I would love if that happened. I am going to be cautiously optimistic, and say that this potentially could happen. I always envisioned Steph being a career warrior. I didn't think that he'd be leaving, but I don't know, seeing how excited he was to be on the court with LeBron, seeing the love between the two of them during the All-Star game yesterday, it made me think that he's potentially wondering what it could be like to come over to LA and join the Lakers. It would be amazing. Like, that would be such a sick team. So even though I don't know that it's really like a true, if it really could happen, I wonder, I mean, do you feel like this is something that could be possible? Is this something that could potentially happen in your eyes?
I think so, just because, LeBron is later in his career. Steph is kind of like right in the middle. And I think LeBron would love to actually, because there's going to be a transition at some point. LeBron is going to get less minutes and he's going to preserve his physical a little bit more. And the thing that I would love is here are two guys. There was a time when the Warriors went and got KD to specifically beat LeBron. And so that's one thing. And then now Steph is the guy that everybody tries to figure out a way to beat because of his 3-point play. So I would love to see the two guys that at some point in their career, they were the guys to beat. People were literally building their teams to beat them, and to have them on the same team, I think that would be, like I said, that would be my basketball journey would be complete. I don't even know, like once that ended, I don't even know what I would have left. That would just be the caveat of my basketball journey. And I think it would be a beautiful thing. And they just, and here's the thing that I think sometimes people miss. Even if neither one of them were 100% healthy, the knowledge that the two of them have combined that they can share with some of those young guys and make them elevate in their game is priceless. So either way, having these two guys on the same team would be the dopest thing ever. I'm really excited about the possibility. JD says they possibly will have to reconstruct their contracts. I know LeBron at this point in his career, he's not mad at that. Like, if he can just get W's just because and get rings just because, he would be down for that. So, look, fingers crossed. I'm only going to cross one because I think it's bad luck if you cross two. So, just one hand, fingers crossed, this would be the dopest thing in the world to see. But let's go on to this next one because...
Wait. Before we move on, I have one quick question for you. Because we've seen a lot of major moves happening, like KD going to Golden State, James Harden going to the Nets. Do you think Steph Curry going to the Lakers would be the biggest one, the most shocking one of them all?
I do, and I think it's because of what Mamba Machine, what he just wrote in that chat. He said, "This will never happen. Steph belongs in Golden State. He is their franchise guy, and he simply won't leave." Well, then they should remember that before they move, because y'all moved, and now Steph is free to make some moves too. That's just how I kind of view that, because y'all ain't even in the same spot. So I don't know. I think Steph and guys don't. I think that there's guys that think like that. Obviously, you know, we know Bradley Beal does. I think Damian Lillard does. But I think sometimes guys like Steph, when they have these all-star games, all-star game is the most tampering game. If y'all really want to get rid of tampering, you would get rid of the all-star game, because this is when guys build these chemistry. This is when they start to really think about the possibilities, like, what would it be like if I played with him? Like, what would that look like for me? And then once that seed is planted, I think anything is possible. And then phrases like he's their franchise guy all of a sudden become laughable. That's just my thought process. But, you know, we'll see. I would love to see it. Don't know if it'll actually happen, but I definitely would love to see it. And then now, speaking of Steph, so there is a hierarchy. There is a different kind of treatment that each player gets. We know that. We've talked about that several times. If you're not a star, you're not getting certain treatment. We saw LeBron get a certain type of treatment in the bubble that other people did not get. And in the All-Star game, I think it's going to come down to lockers, because there was definitely a difference between Steph's locker and Sabonis' locker. So take a look at Steph's locker. That's like a New York apartment. It's a big locker, you know, and so he's just a kind of little guy, and it just looks, and it's funny to me that they have this big locker for one day, which is hilarious, but that's cool. I think Steph deserves that locker. But can y'all look at Sabonis' locker real quick? Because that looked like they cleared out a vending machine and then just put a tag on top. Like, where's the vending? We forgot the locker for Sabonis. That looks like a straight vending machine, y'all. Like, we're just gonna put. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh because I love Sabonis, I do, but this is just pathetic. And then Joker, you know, this is what, his third All-Star game. His was like right in the middle. It wasn't a vending machine. It wasn't a New York apartment. It was like right in the middle, which I thought was funny. I'm like, okay, there's definitely a hierarchy. Some Twitter users had a problem with it. Others didn't. One person said, it's because everybody has to spread out. I don't really know if I buy that, and neither does the guy below. He goes, nah, I'm pretty sure it's because he's a replacement. Ooh, Sabonis wasn't a replacement. Oh, yeah, he was. Okay, fair. I get what you did there. That's fair. But this is what I wanted y'all to see. Y'all see them shoes? Y'all see them shoes that Steph is wearing? My dad has When my dad passed, we gave away a bunch of these shoes. And when I tell you the old guys was flocking to these shoes, they was like, oh my God, these shoes is flat. Steph is wearing my old school dad's shoes. And I just love him for it. They all shined up just like my dad's was. And I was like, okay, Steph, I see you bringing me some nostalgia with these old man shoes. You better get it, Steph. Oh, I love it. I love it. I didn't see LeBron's locker. I wanted to see LeBron's locker because, he's so much bigger than Steph. So if Steph got a big locker, obviously LeBron should have a big locker, right? But I didn't get to see it. But if I find it, I'm going to make sure that I bring it. Now, this next one, I think we need to talk about a little bit because y'all know I love me some Zion. I have been rooting for him since day one. He blew up on social media. So one of the reasons why we followed him so tightly is because we saw all the crazy dunks that he did on social media. So that has become something that we fully expect from him. That is something that he is supposed to do, especially in the All-Star game when it's just fun and games. There's no one taking it seriously. You're supposed to clear the dunk, especially the wide open dunk. So I'm not going to come down on him really, really hard. I'm just going to let y'all see this if y'all didn't see it and then let y'all give some feedback. So take a look at this dunk that Zion was trying to make.
And Irving off the back ball.
That was the second one. That's the second one he missed like that. So I was looking at him and I was like, okay, Zion, what? Why? Why is this happening? It didn't make any sense to me at all because I was like, it's a wide open dunk, my guy. You're supposed to be on there hanging and then we got to tilt it back because you bent it. That's your job. It's the All-Star game. That's why we watching. That's why people are there. But didn't happen. Of course, Twitter had a lot of things to say about it, which this one bothered me. It says New Orleans watching Zion tonight. Like you out here embarrassing us. That's a great one because I know you're thinking that because everybody in New Orleans was like, oh, Zion's gonna wah wah wah. It was just so tragic. But this user is completely wrong. I do not like this tweet at all because he says lazy ass athletes are nothing new in the NBA. This to me did not look like Zion was being lazy. To me, it looked like he just got scared for whatever reason. He didn't feel like he had the right angle. So then the question becomes this is his first All-Star game. And the thing is there wasn't that. I think there was 2,500 fans in there. Yes, they pumped in, the fake crowd noise or whatever. But I would imagine even with them pumping that in, you can hear that the stadium is pretty much empty. Now, I'll tell you this. Y'all know I used to sing. When I would be in arenas where they were packed and I was singing, I had no problem. When I would go into these little clubs where they'd be 4 and 5 people, nervous as hell. It was so difficult because now you have to connect. Now everybody's watching you. It was the nerve level just went up. So I think it's the lack of fans, the fact that he's his first time All-Star game. I think that's what got to him, and that's why he got the jitters. Devin, what do you think about this one?
I was actually kind of surprised to see that, I sort of felt like it did seem like he was going for it and then he just psyched himself out. So I understand that there might be first game jitters, but this is also somebody who's played in NBA games, many NBA games. So I don't understand why the All-Star game, which means less, would be the thing that makes him feel so nervous. But I think that's obviously what must have happened for him because there's no other explanation. I don't think Zion is a lazy athlete at all. So I completely disagree with that tweet as well. That was just ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know. But it was a little surprising to see because I was expecting him to go out and be that powerhouse player that he always is. And it just seemed, I don't know, it seemed like he just psyched himself out a couple times.
Well, I think he just psyched himself. I think he was just so excited and nervous because he was sitting on the sideline and, he was mic'd up. And I don't know if it was Sabonis or somebody asked him. They were like, well, how's it feel to be here? And he goes, I'm just really excited. He didn't even deliver that one little line without a whole bunch of nerves. So it just didn't seem to me that he was, it literally seemed like he was a little jittery, and it was just a hilarious thing. So I agree. Mama Machine in the chat says this was just his first All-Star game jitters. He was nervous, and it's understandable. He was among the league top players that grew up. He was around the league's players that he grew up idolizing, and we should be encouraging him to be more confident. And the thing is, and I've said this earlier today, I think it's like that when it's your first time. I think if it was a vet who's never been to an All-Star game, which I can't even think of someone I would name off top, but if you've never been to the All-Star game and then suddenly you're there, obviously you want to prove your worth. You want to prove why you are there. So I think anyone in the first All-Star game is going to have a certain level of jitters. I 100% agree with Mama, though. We should be encouraging him, not dragging him. I understand he did miss 2 in that game, but we shouldn't be dragging him. He's just a kid. He's got a lot to think about, including his weight, you guys. So let's just throw as much positivity out there to him as we possibly can. I think this next one, though, is something that we can chat about as well, because this one, I think Damian Lillard he's disrespected far too much. And I think now it's starting to get to him, because for the longest time, he just kind of let it go. He just kind of went out there and he did his thing, didn't really talk about it too much. But now we're seeing he's starting to kind of voice his feelings about the level of shade that he gets. I think some of that might be because he's gone through so much in the last 2 years. He's lost people close to him. He's been just going through a lot mentally, and now he's just not here for the shade. But he took to Twitter and he replied with this kind of namaste guy meditating about this tweet. And it says, this one says, Dame needs to leave Portland to be appreciated. Dame drops 32 in the All-Star game, scores his team's last 11 points, and hits the game winner from damn near half court. And go ahead and read ESPN mobile headline for the game. ESPN is the problem. So if you can't see that headline says, Giannis Curry shine as Team LeBron topples Team Durant. So this is actually true. I went through and every time I see a headline about Dame with ESPN, and that's not just ESPN. I think ESPN is just a go-to for a lot of us, but it is one of those things where they just kind of nitpick his downfalls. Or Dame didn't get this shot. He can be clutch for 9 games, but if on that 10th game, if he's not clutch, then all of a sudden they got something to say, and it's a level of negativity. I understand it from the entertainment side. Those kind of headlines, they do get more hits. They do get more attraction. But I think as much as people love Dame, the positive stuff would get just as many hits as well. So I think this user is right, and this is who we need to lay the blame on. I 100% agree with this. It's because ESPN only cares about teams in New York and LA, or any team LeBron is on, which that's fine. They give too much coverage to the aforementioned teams and don't let players like Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Spider Mitchell, which is Donovan Mitchell, and other small market players have accolades. They're corrupt. So when I saw this tweet, I kind of thought about this for a second, because he said that they only give, accolades to teams in LA and New York. At this point, that New York team is Brooklyn. But for somebody who loves, like it is in my DNA to trash talk the Knicks are like in what, 4th or 5th place right now? They out there doing the thing. Obi was out there representing in the slam dunk. And we don't really talk about that because this, to some extent, that's not the New York team right now. So I think this user is kind of right. Like if you're not on one of those teams, or if you don't have this, what we consider a megastar, I think Damian is a superstar, but I think people like LeBron and KD and Steph are megastars, then you just don't really get the attention. So Devin, would you agree with that? Would you agree that maybe it's just the way that the media covers certain teams, and maybe that media coverage needs to be more equal across the entire league?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you said about megastars and superstars is absolutely right. It's easier to pay attention to the teams that have KD and LeBron and Steph because they are these big personalities and big celebrities. And that isn't to say that Dame doesn't have a major influence or following, or, that he's not super famous or whatever. But for whatever reason, he just hasn't become that, I guess, like that personality that we see with some of these other guys. But I do think that there needs to be more equal coverage because, and we've talked about this like with Bradley Beal, Bradley Beal will put up 50 points or whatever, and we still are not really talking about him because the team's not good. So I feel like we just kind of don't have this, we don't have an even playing field when it comes to media coverage. I think that the Dame disrespect definitely needs to stop. I think that for whatever reason, it's easy to hate on him. And he is obviously somebody that we need to give our respect to because he's awesome.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And Dame is just, he's a lovable guy. And he got bars. If y'all don't have anything else to do today, if you don't want to go find the Rudy Gobert story, go find a Damian Lillard track on iTunes. He got bars for days, and I absolutely Love his music. So yeah, I don't appreciate the Dame shade, but I also think that in his city he's the man, and maybe you should just focus on that, because you're just probably not going to get that national attention until you bring home that chip. So, but let's get to someone that I have a love hate. It's not the Shaq love hate relationship that I have, but it's definitely a thing. So we know that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were out at the last minute because another barber, I don't understand what's going on with these barbers, but another barber had 2 positive COVID tests. So he cut their hair so they could not be in the game. And so Joel took to Twitter to kind of talk about it. And it's kind of funny because now here's the thing. I don't know if you guys know what this is from, but this is when he was whining to the ref to get that technical on D Book. So that's when he was whining about Devin Booker that caused him to get ejected. And then he said he uses that same tweet to say, looking at those fresh shape ups, I had to be the one. Yes, you had to be the one that was snitching on Devin Booker. So I'm just going to go ahead and call this one karma. That's what you get. That is why you did not get to play in the All-Star game. God does not like ugly, and that's what you get. And I hate to say this about you, Joel, but you kind of brought this one on yourself. And I think that this user is spot on with how they kind of evaluated the situation. The one at the top says, make sure your kids are safe tonight. And then he got Donovan and Rudy Gobert down there. And then this other user says he should make sure to properly heal his bum from the 5 flops per game, and him and Ben Simmons be legit for Defensive Player of the Year when your team isn't a top 5 defensive team, neither a top 10, LOL. So yes, how about you heal from all them floppings? Because you know that back problem that you blamed on LeBron on the flop that you did. Yeah, that's your fault, my guy. I'm not here for any of your flopping or any of your. I understand that that's funny, but No, it's payback, my guy. But let's move on to this next one because JD in the chat had asked something about PG-13, which is Paul George, and him getting a level of shade and things of that nature. I don't know if I agree with that. I think Paul George brings a lot of it on himself because he's this humble guy 1 second and he's kind of a jerk the next. So he needs to just pick a side sometimes, but he did finally admit that Dame's shot over him was good, and it took years upon years for him to do that, but he did say that. So this reporter posted about that and said, Paul George says after seeing Damian Lillard and Steph Curry show off their deep range from near half court, the critics were right to get on him for calling Dame's shot in the playoffs against him and OKC a bad shot. He's saying he's been proven wrong and that they're a great shot. So yay for finally admitting something that I know damn well you knew this whole entire time. But I guess shouts out to you for admitting it. This user is giving him his props. Devin, you're going to love this one because he corrected his own spelling. I know how much you hate that. He says PG-13 acting like a grown man being to admit he was wrong. Props to him. And then he corrected it saying being able to admit he was wrong. I guess. I mean, I knew you were going to love that one, Devin. Like, he corrected his own spelling errors. This is fantastic.
I do love that.
Yes, if you spelling stuff wrong in your tweets, Devin will get you. So I know Devin appreciated the self-correction. I don't know if I agree with that tweet, because yes, it's great to admit that you're wrong, but maybe you admit you're wrong maybe a day after it happens, not years after it happens. So I don't know if I agree with that. I think PG-13 should have just said less. He shouldn't have said anything about the shot and just let it be. Other fans think that this is just the times that we live in. Says, damn, this All-Star game turning into an ABC family movie. This one says Hallmark Valentine's Day. And this one says, how many dudes are working on this summer now? Y'all, okay. Y'all could at least said Lifetime. This is... Just because you acknowledge somebody is dope, does that automatically mean you in some cheesy Lifetime movie or now you're soft? Y'all doing too much. I don't know if I like this one, but I do like this next one. And this one might make me a little soft because I'm here for every single HBCU that is out there. Chris Paul always wears some sort of HBCU jacket. This tweet says CP3 usually reps one HBCU per game. This was the perfect function to rep them all. Let me blow this one up bigger for you because this is one of those jackets that I don't know how much it costs, But this next picture, you're going to see it. This is every single HBCU we have on one jacket. This is so fly to me. I absolutely love it. The only thing that I didn't like about the All-Star game, and I will say this, Grambling has the best marching band of all time. And I would have just loved to actually see them there because you don't really get to appreciate them on the video. I would have loved to see at least a small bunch of them there. I get for COVID we couldn't. But if y'all in Atlanta anyway, don't act like I wasn't turning up. Y'all could have made this happen. But definitely shouts out to him for getting that jacket up. Because I definitely am going to be looking for that because I need that jacket. I probably need a loan to get the jacket, but I still want that jacket because I love this. But let's move on to this next one because this one is just gonna get you all in the feels, especially Devin, because Devin was just spending time with her cute, adorable nephew. I saw him on your Instagram. He is adorable. So I know you're gonna be all giddy for this one. Because Giannis was out here warming up with his son, and it is adorable. Well, it's his son, yeah, his little one. Go take a look. It's adorable.
Nikola Jokic in the backcourt, Luka Doncic and Steph Curry. And in the locker room earlier, and the Joker.
Aw, I just love it so much. I love the family time, and I was gonna just leave it at that because you guys know I love me some Giannis. But I couldn't because Jason Tatum was out here having a very similar moment. And I love the kids, so I'm going to have to give Jason Tatum his shine as well, especially since he almost made it interesting in that 3-point game. So take a look at this. It's just adorable. I knew it. I heard you guys already heard the aw. Devin, isn't this? I think this is what makes it all kind of relatable when you see them out there doing this with their family. And we saw Steph give a high five to Aisha after he won his 3-point championship that we all knew he would win. But I think I just really love seeing them with the family on the sidelines. How do you feel about that?
I love it too. It humanizes them, which I think, and I feel like I've said that a lot recently because it's so easy to look at these athletes and just picture them as athletes and nothing more. But then when you see them with their kids, you realize, oh no, he's a dad, he's a husband or a boyfriend or, whatever. And I think that's really great. I also think it is so funny to look at, especially Giannis, bending down. His legs are probably as tall as me, and he's bending down for this tiny kid. It just makes you realize how giant these guys are. Obviously, we know that NBA players are super tall and massive, but when you see them on the screen, it doesn't look like that as much. But then seeing him next to a little toddler, it's like, damn, Giannis, your legs are very long.
How Giannis' little one looks next to him is how Kevin Hart looks standing next to Taco Falls. I saw a picture of Kevin Hart standing next to Taco, and he looked like he was his child. I was like, if I was Kevin Hart, I would never have basketball friends. That's just embarrassing.
So embarrassing.
All right, but let's move on to this next one because I love Joker. I've always thought that he's just not used to the Mile High City. That's where I'm from, if you don't know. And I know it's a learning curve on breathing sometimes if you're not from Denver, because his nose is just always red. He always looks like he has a cold. That could be something else, but I'm not starting no rumors. But I do love me some Joker, and I love to see him trying to attempt something that he knows he's not good at. This is all Giannis's fault, though, and I love him for it. But let's just break out some Joker dance moves.
Oh, no. What is happening?
See, okay, now I know my mind just works weird, but what I really would want is if Kendrick Perkins said Joker's name wrong, and so then we could remix that and make a dance beat with Kendrick saying the name wrong, and then Joker trying to dance to the. I'm weird like that. That would just be my whole life.
He'd be like, Nicola, yo. What was this?
I don't know. Oh, I don't know what my arms should do. They're just flailing about aimlessly. We're going to leave him alone. I love that man, and look, do what you're good at. You out there being good at basketball, leave the dancing to somebody else, but maybe just bust out one every once in a while because it clearly made us smile. So I love this. Shouts out to all the guys and the donations to the HBCU that we got from the All-Star game. This was amazing. I love that the NBA is doing this step forward. I know sometimes I criticize them a lot, but giving back to HBCUs, and I've talked about how important those universities are. It was a very, very big deal. So shouts out to this actually coming to fruition and this happening for a very, very good cause. So it was great to see. But that's all I got for the post up. Now let's get into this one because I don't know how this one went unchecked. This one is it's one of those things that it's a learning lesson. Well, it's not even a learning lesson because it happens all the time. But if you nip things in the bud, then sometimes they don't get worse. But Darius Geis, I know you guys know who he is. This is just one of those where there's smoke, there is usually fire. And now you guys know that he was drafted in the second round by the Washington football team in 2008. He played just 5 games during his career, and then he was released after rape allegations surfaced. But these allegations that I'm going to talk about now are not those rape allegations. This is a completely different incident. So those rape allegations that he was arrested for in 2020 could have been prevented if somebody had kind of gotten on top of this next one. So you guys know he started for LSU from 2015 to 2017. And now there is a 70-year-old woman, let that sink in, pause for effect. A 70-year-old woman who says that he basically sexually harassed her and that the university covered it up. So I'm just going to read her whole story of what happened because I think it's very, very important. So she says she was sitting on a chair at her post. So I'm assuming she's some sort of security or greeter or whatever. And Darius Geis and several other men approached her, and he began saying things like, "Oh, I like older women." And he asked this 70-year-old woman if she would have sex with him. She, of course, was shocked that he would say this, and she told him, "Hey, that's not funny." And then he started to gesture at his privates and say that he really liked older women and that the two of them could just go off and have sex somewhere. And she told him, she's like, "I am 70 years old. I could be your grandmother. You should not talk that way." And then the guys that were around him just began to laugh. And she tried to tell him this is disgusting and this is not how you should treat women, especially older women. And they just kept doing these sexual innuendos to her until they got on the elevator and the elevator closed and they eventually left. Well, I like this 70-year-old woman because she was like, "Oh, no, not today. You're not going to get away with being this ridiculous today." So she went and reported it to her immediate supervisor. And then her supervisor was like, "Oh, wow, this is ridiculous." So he called the head coach at LSU. And the head coach said, "Oh, you know what? He was probably just kidding. He comes from a broken home. It's not that big a deal." And the 70-year-old woman was like, "I don't care that he came from a broken home because even if that is true, this is a learning moment. This is a teachable moment for him. He needs to understand that he can't do this." And she said the coach was just like, "Well, what do you want? What do you want? An apology?" And she says, "No, I want him to sit out for a game, the bowl game to be specific." So this is the other thing that I really like about this woman. She was very specific in what she wanted, and she understood that this is something that could get out of hand. And I'm not even going to look at it like, oh, she was trying to ruin his football career. She didn't want him suspended forever. She said, this is an important game to him. He needs to sit this out because he needs to know that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. But the coach dismissed her and basically said, "You know what? He's just a kid. It's just a kid being a kid." And he left it at that. Now, shortly after that, so after this happened, then Darius Geis was accused of rape by 2 different women in 2016 as a freshman. So this was shortly after this happened. So then you fast forward to 2020, and now he's in a situation where he's accused of domestic violence and some sort of physical assault. But this is what I'm saying. What if at this moment in time, somebody took this seriously? What if somebody not only made him sit out that bowl game, which would have been a big deal. Now, y'all could have kept it under wraps however you wanted to do that. You could have said, "Oh, he's sitting out for an undisclosed reason," but you guys would have known the reason and you would have made him pay for this. So he's got to sit out this bowl game. And not only does he have to sit out this bowl game, he's got to go to counseling. He's got to do therapy. He's got to show you that he understands that his actions were wrong and that they're not acceptable. If you guys had done that, then maybe now his career wouldn't be coming to a drastic end because he's continued this behavior. He's continuing this behavior not only because something is fundamentally wrong, but because no one called him out on it. And now he's caught. I just think that if you, like I've said before, where there's smoke, there's fire, and you've got to really get on these things very quickly. And his coach, while he was probably wanting him to play because that meant a win for his team, he did him a disservice. Because your job is not only just to coach these guys to wins or championships. Your job as a coach to also shape young men, shape them to be able to survive in society and be good people. Your coaching job just isn't about the game. You are literally shaping young men. And so what we're not going to do is move forward and not understand that. You guys as coaches, this is not something you cover up. Like I said, I'm low-key wouldn't even have been mad if you didn't disclose why this happened. But I am upset to find out that you guys literally did nothing. And now he has it in his head, because I can tell you this. If this happened, then it happened before that. You don't be this brazen with it. And that's another thing this 70-year-old woman said. You don't be this brazen with it if you haven't done this before. You guys have got to get in front of these types of situations to prevent them from happening in the future. This coach did him a disservice, and that is why we were seeing this now. So what we're not going to do is not take our job as head coaches and the responsibility of shaping young men seriously. So this is terrible. This is all I got for what we're not going to do, though, but do better.
Jackie, thank you for that one. I feel like this is shocking, and I think that it was so wildly irresponsible for them to dismiss it as him just being a kid. That's not just being a kid behavior. That's like predatory and alarming behavior, and something that should have been addressed in a serious way earlier on. So yeah, I agree with you 1000%. He did this kid a disservice, because obviously this kid was growing up in a household where he didn't have a good role model for how to treat women or treat older people or whatever. So the coach needs to step in and do that. It's weird, because we saw what happened with that kid at the training camp with Cam Newton, and how he was disrespecting him. And I think it was great that there were so many football players that were coming out and saying, you don't treat somebody like that. That's not how you talk. And then that kid immediately put out an apology. But in this situation where somebody was actually saying things that were kind of threatening and alarming, it's just brushed under the rug and dismissed as kids being kids. Absolutely wild. Such a shocking story. And I agree with you 1000% on that one. But you guys, we're at the end of our first 9 a.m. live show. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell. We are going to be back again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So tune in, you guys. That's 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be breaking down all the sports news for you. Again, this is our new time. So we'll see you guys in the morning tomorrow. Subscribe, tap the bell, leave a comment below, share this video with your friends, and we'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.